I'm Ari, and today I'm going to do the media book freakout tag. I think I got that right. Yeah. What is the best book you read so far this year? And for me, that has to be The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I really like this book, and it kind of surprised me because everyone has talked about it and loved it, but I wasn't really that into romance books, and this really hit the mark. This book is about Olive, who one late night make a rather rash decision, if you ask me, and kisses Adam Carlson, which is one of the most hated professors on her school. And she does this to convince her friend Anne that she is over her ex-boyfriend, or really a guy she just went on one date with, and so Anne can date her ex-boyfriend. But then complications arises, and she has to fake date Adam, and it grows into something more. And yeah, you know the premise. But Adam was really sweet, and Ollie was really a amazing character as well, with a lot of depth. And even though she was really obvious to Adam's feelings about her, that is the premise of the book. So yeah, but I really like this. It's the best book of the year so far for me. And the best sequel so far this year has to be As Good As Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the third and last book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. And again, I really like this book. I think it has kind of either you like it or you don't. A lot of people think that people make a really uncharacteristic decision in this book, but I think that Holly explored the plot, or she made an uncommon decision for her. But then again, Holly really resonated why she made that decision, and she explored the consequences and really made a good book out of it. So I think the first part of the book was kind of slow, but then she made this decision, and the pace really picked up, and it really made it. I think it was really good, and it also was a satisfying conclusion. So the best sequel so far. I have my questions on my iPad here. So, what is a new release you haven't gotten to yet but want to? Many, but two is The Winners by Frederick Beckman. I really love Frederick Beckman, and this is the conclusion to the Beer Town series, which is such a hard-hitting series, and it's so good. And Beckman is one of my favorite authors, I just have to say that. But he can make you, or at least me, laugh and then cry on the same page almost. And he writes really true, amazing and identifiable characters, and they're flawed, and they're just so real, and it's almost like I know them when he writes about them, and he's really good. And this series about a girl who gets raped, and the whole town who is against her. Either you believe her or you stand against her, and if you stand against her, you stand with the ice hockey community and the star of the ice hockey community who rapes her. And it's really truly amazing, and the emotion he gets out with the books. And yeah, so that's one I really want to read but haven't gotten to yet. And another is From London with Love by Sarah Geo. And this is And Sarah J is also an author I really, really like. And this is her newest book. At least where I live, it was released this year, and I think it was in the US as well. And this is about Valeria Val, who is a librarian and has an estranged relationship with her mother, who left her when she was a kid. But then one day she gets the news that her mother has passed away and has left her bookshop in London. So Valeria, who's just gotten out of a divorce, then flees to London to see this bookshop that she has inherited. And then she also learns more about her mother's past. So it's told in 2 different timelines as well, about her mother Eloise and then present timeline with Valeria. And it sounds really sweet, and a bookshop and a librarian. Yeah, and I listened to Sarah talk about this book when she was in Norway, and it sounded really sweet, and Sarah is also really, really sweet, and I got to meet her, and she's really lovely. So yeah, that's also another book I'm really anticipating. What is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? I have 3, and that's 1, Love and the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Because I was so impressed by the love hypothesis, I'm really anticipating her next release, which is, I think it's just a couple of weeks away in August, the start of August, I believe. And this next book again follow a scientist who, in this book, I think she works in NASA and has as a motto, "What would Marie Curie do?" And I think the book was about, or at least if I remember correctly, some of her colleagues start to turn against her and her stuff starts missing, and then her colleague Nemesis suddenly starts to support her and help her, and a romance blossom, I would assume. And then another release I'm anticipating is the new book by Karen and McManus, Nothing More to Tell. This time we follow a true crime writer, document maker, something. And she is going to investigate the murder of her old high school teacher, and then wants to interview 3 other kids who found the teacher. And one of the kids was her prior best friend, and she's really dependent on him to get the others to tell the story. But then as things move on, she finds out that maybe the killer really never left the town, and it might be dangerous for her to keep looking into the case, I assume. And the last is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gang. I haven't yet read Our Violent Lights, but I really want to. But this new book also really sounds so cool, and I like her settings in Shanghai in the 1930s. And this time we follow an assassin who can't die and can't really get wounded, so she works as an assassin for China. But then some things with Japan, I believe, and some Japanese assassin. I don't know. I can't really remember, but it sounded really good. So I'm anticipating that as well. What is your biggest disappointment so far this year? And unfortunately for me, that has to be Dial A for Antis by Jesse A. Sutanto. And I know this was really loved by the book community when it came out. And it sounded really good, so I had really high hopes for it. And I think that might be what made it as big as a disappointment, not because it was bad, but because I had such high hopes. But this follows a character named Maddie, who accidentally kills her blind date, and then in panic drives him home to her house, and tells her mother, and her mother calls her aunties, and then they try to clean up this murder, but then his body accidentally gets shipped to an island where they are supposed to host a wedding because her family is in the wedding business, and a lot of problems arises and chaos. But I kind of think the character was superficial. It wasn't really any depth to any of them, and the main character makes really stupid decisions a lot of times, and I think it could have maybe been done better if we gave it more time. But yeah, it was a really quick read, and it was fun at times, but it was also disappointing for me. And what is your... I have a most surprising book. I thought I forgot something. That for me has to be The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. Again, I heard a lot of things about Christina Lauren, but I never really read any of their books. So I decided to pick up this one this summer because I felt like Hawaii was a summer setting. Kind of disappointing when I find out it was set in January, but you don't really get that from the most of the book. You get Hawaii, warm. But yeah, I really like this. I don't know why I thought it was so surprising, but it's just a book everyone loved, and now I've kind of learned that everyone else, the taste doesn't always align with me. But I think I really want to pick up more of her books. But this book is about Olive, whose twin sister is getting married, but then at the wedding reception, all the invitees and guests gets food poisoning, so Olive has to take the honeymoon because it was non-refundable because her sister won it, and her sister has always really been lucky, and Olive has always thought of herself as an unlucky bird. And then, but the problem is that she has to take this honeymoon with her nemesis Ethan, who is her sister's husband's brother. And she can't despise him because she thinks that he hates her. But then you learn that he doesn't really hate her, and it's forced proximity because they have to live in the same room, and it's only one bed, and yeah, you know how the story goes. They fall in love, and it's a really sweet book, so surprising, but a really good surprise. And new favorite author debut or new to you? For me, that has to be Emily Henry. I read all 3 of her books this month, I believe. Yeah, and I really enjoy them. I especially book lovers. I think I've heard a lot of mixed things about it. Some really hates it, and some think it's the best. And for me, I think I kind of lean more to the latter. I think I started reading this, and then I read People Who Meet on Vacation, or You and Me on Vacation, depending on where you are, and then Beach Read. And I think, firstly, her setting is the best for summer. But I like her characters, and she writes with a lot of heart, I think, and it's interesting stories. Most of them is set in the book world, which, as a book lover, you usually maybe love. So that's cool, and kind of get an insight to that. Publishing and writing and stuff was really cool. But she writes really good, even though it's an easy read, it's really good writing, and her characters are also sweet, and yeah, so I really enjoyed her, and I think she's going to be an autobiography for me. So the next book, I'm anticipating it. Really happy with it. And yeah, new fictional crush. And I think it's no one's surprise if I say Adam Carlson from The Love Hypothesis. He's handsome, he's smart, he's funny, he's caring, and he's kind of a grump, but then he's not towards his girl, and it's really sweet. And he does so many things for Olive, and he's athletic, muscular. Yeah, but he was a really sweet character and had a really big heart, and even though he believed that Olive can never fall for him, that might be a spoiler, but he did all these things for her regardless of his own feelings, and he's really selfless, and I think he would do anything for Olive, and you want that kind of man. You want that man. Any new favorite character? I don't know. I think it has to be Nora from Book Lovers, because she always describes herself as the anti-hero of our own history. This book takes a lot of tropes, but it does in a really good way, and Emily is really obvious when she writes about it, because she uses it to her advantage. So this book follows Nora, who is a literary agent, and she gets convinced by her little sister, to take a vacation with her for 4 weeks, and then they drive out to this sweet little town, where one of her authors has written a book. Just a place, not the author hadn't really visited the town, just drove past. But then on her vacation she meets Charlie, who is her work nemesis. He's an editor, and on their first meeting he really turned down the book and was not interested. So since then she has kind of held a grudge against him. But then they meet in this little town, and they're nemesis, and it's an enemies to lovers romance, and it's really good. But I really liked Nora because she was always kind of doubting herself, and she was not really the most confident, but at the same time she was really confident, and she had her I'm going to do this and this, and she had a life lined out, and another thing, she did everything for her sister, because the mother died when they were young, or she was 20 and Alexis was 16. So she always felt like she had to take care of her sister, even from she was little. And she's a really good sister. She does everything for her sister and to make her happy, and I think that's a really good quality and made her really hearty, if I can say that. So, and then her relationship with Charlie, and she's afraid to mess things up and ruin her career and her relationship with her sister, and just afraid of everything. And Emma explore those feelings really well. So I think it has to be Nora, and yeah, the book is really good. What books made you cry? I don't think any books has made me cry this year so far. I'm not really a big crier when it comes to books. It takes a lot. One of the few authors I always cry to is Fredrik Backman. But then I haven't gotten to the winners, but I'm sure I'm going to cry a lot when I read that. So far this year, no. But a book that made you really happy. I think again has to go with The Love Hypothesis. Yeah. Hate to repeat the book so many times in a tag, but it's really sweet and it made me smile and giggle and just grin the whole time. So I really enjoyed it, and I always wanted to share passages with my family and just listen to this, and I read that loud, and it was really funny. So yeah, this is the one that made me the most happy, I believe. Most beautiful books you bought or received so far this year? I have 3. Unfortunately, none of them is in English. They're all the Norwegian editions. But this is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, and Emma by Jane Austen, and then Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And I think these covers are really, really pretty. I like the pastel colors and the flowers in the background, the people on the cover, they all stand on a hill. I think they're really, really pretty. To be honest, it was a big part of why I bought them. I'm kind of intimidated by classics, but I've heard that Jane Austen is a really good place to start, and a lot of people enjoy her books, and when they have such pretty covers, I'm easily convinced. So yeah, I would say these 3. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? All, many, a lot, my bookshelf, the whole. Yeah, I have a lot of books I need to read, but I really want to read the Bridgerton series. They have new translations in my language, so I kind of want to read them. I also really want to read these Our Violent Delights, and These Violent Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gang. I want to read The Winners, of course. I want to read the new anticipated releases I mentioned. I want to read the Truly Devious series by Maureen M. Johnston. And really, there's a lot of books. But that was all for this tag, and I hope you enjoyed my rambling, or at least got a good laugh of it. Bye.